Welcome to Beyond Bitewings, the business side of dentistry, brought to you by Edwards & Associates PC. Join us as we discuss how to build your dental practice, optimize your income, and plan for your future. This podcast is distributed with the understanding that Edwards & Associates PC is not rendering legal, accounting, or professional advice. Listeners should consult with their business advisors before acting on any of the information that is shared. At Edwards & Associates PC, our business is the business of dentistry. For help or more information, visit our website at eandassociates.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond Bitewings. In today's episode, we have a very special guest. Her name is Megan Sack. She's a former hygienist who's recently decided to join up with a pretty well-known practice management software company. To talk further about this subject matter, we decided to do a specific episode on practice management software, how to consider which one to use, and what would be the best one for your implementation, because as we all know, no two practices are the same. So without further ado, Megan, how are you today?
Hi, Ash. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on your show today. I appreciate it. Again, you mentioned I am a former dental hygienist. Funny enough, I knew I was going to go into the dental field at a very young age.
Really?
However, my initial plan of trajectory was to be an orthodontist, but somehow shifted gears and went into hygiene, and unfortunately had to leave my clinical position due to dexterity complications from a automobile accident. But timely enough, I got positioned with the opportunity to transfer into the sales world of dentistry. So found myself here at Archy, and I couldn't have asked for a better job. Being a hygienist, I can't tell you how many times I found myself in the operatory cursing at my software and wishing that it could do things a certain way or do things differently, and wondering how it could just be created. You know, you try to contact these companies to give them their input or to ask for a different feature, and you just get sent to a general questionnaire box, and it's that's never going to happen. So it's been a really cool experience getting to help give my input in the development of Archy.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, for our listeners that don't know what Archy is, would you mind giving them a little brief?
Absolutely. So Archy is a cloud-based practice management software. And I like to call it a platform more than a software, because we are all encompassing beyond just the practice management component of the patient chart, the clinical schedule, insurance claims, but we bring into also patient engagement with text messaging and appointment reminders and mass emailing and payment processing, as well as online scheduling. So it's all encompassing, and it goes beyond just what the traditional software does.
Wow. Okay. And now when you say cloud-based, is it truly cloud-based, or is it, how some of the other software companies claim that they're cloud-based?
Exactly. So there's two differentiators. There is cloud-based, which is hosted on a cloud service. So we utilize Amazon Web Services, which is the same company that, say, McDonald's, Starbucks, Walmart, that they house their data on these servers. The other component that softwares say they are, quote, cloud-based is actually known as web hosted. So the server is located at the headquarters of this software company, and they utilize a specific software to remotely log into this very large server. So there's a lag time in the transferring of data between this large computer at their headquarters at the practice location.
Wait, so tell me this. So these other companies that say they're cloud-based, but they actually house a server within their headquarters, what if the light goes out in that building?
Then your data is out.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So unless they are utilizing a larger corporation such as AWS to back up their data, which they likely are not because it's very expensive and it's kind of a redundancy. If their lights go out, then there is no way for your practice to access that information.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So with AWS, they actually have 6 data centers across 3 different time zones. And your data is actually stored within each of the different data centers. So if one goes down, your information is still backed up in a different center in a different time zone. You'll always have access to your information.
Okay, that's good to know. And what about HIPAA compliancy?
So that's a great question. With HIPAA, it's really concerned about how the data is transferred. So you want that information to be encrypted end to end. So from when you are using your computer in your office to when the data is received by the server, you want to make sure that it's encrypted in flight so that someone can't just, pull it out through thin air and steal that data. So we utilize end-to-end encryption in our backup process. I cannot say if these web-hosted servers utilize that same technology.
So right off the bat, I can see some of the advantages of Archy versus some of the other quote-unquote cloud-based operating software. Now, I guess at the same time, we also have to look at or think about the various kinds of dental practices that are out there. DSOs versus small ones that are operating out of main cities versus rural areas. If they were to consider, let's say, a cloud-based one as opposed to an in-house server, something, I hate to say names, but let's say Dentrix or something like that. What would be some of those factors that they should think about or consider before deciding which route to take?
Definitely. So obviously, each practice is going to be different and they're going to require different needs. The first part of your question was the DSO versus solo practice. The big question there is with DSOs is, are these offices run as individual entities and there's one company kind of overseeing a bunch of individual offices? Or is it one company with multiple offices and they share employees, they share patient database, etc.? So for the one that's doing sharing across, every component possible, cloud-based is for sure a solution for them. It's more efficient, it's easier to do remote access, and it's easier to have that file transfer between patients so as to not have to do a upload and download each time a patient goes to a new office location, or in some instances that I heard of last week, still actually moving file charts between practices, which is not safe or secure at all. Now, you asked about rural practices, and there are offices that say that they have issues with internet. And so that is also something to take into consideration when going cloud-based. But it really depends on the software that they choose to use, because some software is coded very slim to where they can easily run off of a cellular hotspot or a MiFi.
Really?
So if internet were to go down, you can utilize a phone's hotspot to run the cloud-based platform off of. I've had offices that ask, well, my computer is wired through the wall to Ethernet cables. And to my surprise that I learned maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, you can purchase Wi-Fi dongles, it's the funniest word, that plug into your USB port, and it will recognize that Wi-Fi or MiFi signal and enable those desktop computers to run off of that hotspot.
Wow. Okay. Ah, I see. So you're essentially saying that even if you're in a rural area, there are ways around it where you can still utilize a cloud-based software.
Absolutely.
I see. Okay. That's good to know. Now, let's also talk about, let's say a dental practice owner bought the practice for someone else, already has an existing, platform, but is not happy with it, wants to upgrade it, right? Upgrade it to, let's say, something like Archy. How quick or how easy is the migration, basically?
Great question. So migration or conversions for practices, it's all going to be dependent on the software that they are moving onto. So that's an important component for the practice to research before making that decision and really ask the company, what information am I going to lose, if any? Because other softwares out there have limitations on what information they can pull from your existing software and bring into the current software. For example, some cloud-based or not cloud-based, on-prem software are not capable of migrating social security numbers. They are housed encrypted within that original software, and upon moving to a different software, all of those numbers will be lost. So the practice would then have to go back and ask the patients for those additional details moving forward with new treatments. Other softwares, they will not migrate or convert over the perio charts. So past history for periodontal patients, that information could potentially be lost. I am very proud to say with Archy that we will move over all data points. Nothing is lost. We have that information readily available and clear to our clients. And each software out there on the market, if you look into their website and look at their conversion details, they will list out exactly what is able to be moved over. So definitely want to give that a look before making that decision.
Wow, that's actually pretty amazing because in my experience, you're right, at least one or two things are lost. I mean, for me, I see the accounts receivable numbers being very different when it gets moved to a different platform.
And so that's always going to be a challenging component because it's all about how clean your data is. So if your staff has been very sloppy in the entering of insurance information details or the processing of claims or even the details of the insurance companies with group numbers, plan numbers, etc. If that's all messy, it's going to move over messy. So you have to pick and choose what you want to move over. And sometimes it's best to just start clean and just carry over balances. So insurance owes X and patient owes X, and all relevant history is left behind. And then move on from there.
I see. Okay. No, which I completely agree. And honestly, this is something we always tell our clients is to kind of look at their aging reports and to clean up what's been there for a really long time and you're fairly sure you're not going to be able to collect. So this would be a good time to kind of look at that and clean that up. Okay, that's good to know. Now, again, going back to the migration or the implementation, how long does it typically take if one makes a decision, you know what, I'm either going to, let's say it's a startup practice, they're like, oh, I'm going to implement this, versus someone who already had a software and is now wanting to move to, let's say a platform like Archy?
Another great question. So it all depends on, again, where you're moving from and what you're moving to. So other companies out there, when you migrate onto their software from a previous software, it usually takes a couple days for them to extract that data information and then load it into their software program. So when I was practicing hygiene, my office moved from Dentrix onto Open Dental. And I'd say that the practice actually had to close down for about 2 or 3 days because we're a very large practice with tons of data. I have no idea how many, but to give reference, it was a 40-year-old practice with 20 employees, 3 full-time dentists, and 5 full-time hygiene. We saw about 65 patients a day. And so they required 3 days for the office to close down for them to be able to extract all of our data and move it on to Open Dental. We then spent 2 more days doing training for the new software. So that's now an entire week of lost scheduling and production. And to say the least, when we did get up and running, we were at a modified schedule so as to not be overwhelmed with using the software. I'd say in total, it took about 2 weeks to get back to our normal pace for the office. With moving on to Archy, we do not require any downtime for the practice. So we will have them finish out their end of day, be it a Thursday or a Friday, close down all of their computers. We will extract all of their information and upload it onto Archy, usually anywhere between 12 and 36 hours over the weekend. Come Monday morning, they'll be up and running on Archy.
And that's also, you actually brought up a good point. So, whenever you're thinking about moving to a new software or implementing a new software, and not just any software, this platform, right? A practice management platform, it's not just the cost of it, but also the downtime, because that's also cost, right? Opportunity cost. You need to take that into account. So looking into a software that can minimize that time is also critical.
Definitely. It's a big pain point and misconception within the dental world that migrating or converting your software is a painful experience in which you have to strategically plan for. We at Archy really want to change that stigma to, no, it's not a painful experience. It's actually quite easy. And you can honestly do it at any time. You don't need it to be during the holidays or when you're closed for vacation. You can do it when the time is right for you.
Wow. Okay. And how are you guys able to do that?
It is honestly due to the skill set of our team.
I see.
Our engineers all come from big tech backgrounds. I won't say the specific names because, some people don't like certain companies. But really the skill set that they embody makes it so that they are programming automation for these conversions. So on the front end, they have looked at these previous software, on-prem software, looked at how the data is housed in it and mapped it line item for line item onto how we surface it in Archy. And once it's mapped out, we're then able to automate the process of simply downloading and uploading.
I see. And then at the same time, let's say if someone does run into some kind of a hiccup, right? How quickly can they reach out to someone for some support?
So we have support that is located here in the US.
Local support.
And
excellent.
all of our support team comes from a dental background. So either clinical experience or admin office manager experience. And so we have support hours from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Wow. And currently our report time is 67 seconds to get a response for chat support or email.
Wow, that's amazing. And, that's also amazing that you guys took the time to decide, okay, our support team needs to also come from the same industry so that they can understand what the person who just called in for, or, put in the ticket for is going through.
Absolutely. Because there's nothing worse than trying to explain something to someone who has no understanding or background of the field.
Oh, absolutely. Trust me. And then they keep saying, oh, let me forward your call over here or there. And then you're just like, wow, I've been on the phone for so long and I didn't even achieve anything.
Exactly. You're just spinning in circles and they're passing you off to someone else. And then all of a sudden you're disconnected when you get transferred. Yeah, you're like, cool, I'm back at square one, and now they're closed.
Now, I know it wasn't just this. Now, there's something else that I feel like Archy is providing that's very unique in its platform that honestly I haven't seen any of the other competing platforms offer, which is sort of like a bonus. And I feel like in today's rise in cost of doing business pretty much across the board, that bonus can also help, which is the implementation of a pretty well-known payroll company.
Absolutely. So we have taken into account what we call employee management. So when a user logs in to Archy, why not take advantage of the fact that they are logging into the platform and therefore track their time usage there? So we have enabled time clock within Archy in order to be able to process payroll. And so we have partnered with Gusto, who runs on the back end of our software, to be able to then process payroll for the practice. So when a practice onboards with Archy, they will simultaneously create an account with Gusto and link their bank accounts to that, so that when they choose to run their payroll, they will automatically be able to pay their employees through the platform, and Gusto will handle all of the tax documentation on their end. So they will get their pay stub pushed into the employee's document center to be able to view that, as well as end of year, their W-2s will get pushed into their employee document center. So this eliminates the need for having to pay for payroll outside of your practice management software. I think on average, a practice will spend around $45 to $90 a month just for the service, and then $5 per paycheck per employee. It could end up being around $150 to maybe $300 a month that ultimately a practice could be saving by utilizing Archy.
Right. And you're just talking about the cost savings. I mean, I'm also thinking about it from an administrative standpoint. And you just mentioned that all that information will automatically allow Gusto to produce the payroll tax reports, the quarterly reports, the W-2s, the 1099s, that's
Absolutely.
going to alleviate a lot of the headache that sometimes the front desk people have to go through to obtain like a W-9 from, oh my goodness, we brought in some temps, so we need to get hold of this W-9 that the accountant's asking for so they can issue a 1099. All of that headache gone. So that
all
to me
gone.
is amazing.
That's one of the things to look at with a new software is where can the software save you on time so that it gives the practice more time to focus on what truly matters, which is the patient who's standing in front of them or sitting in the chair. So providing that quality customer service when they're in front of you versus being all consumed in the busy tasks you need to complete before the next day, or feeling as though you can't provide the quality care while they're in the chair because you have to jam pack your schedule because your collections are poor. So choosing a software that really streamlines automation for you so that you save time, which is ultimately money.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. I completely agree. Well, thank you so much for being on our episode today, Megan, and taking the time out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
No, absolutely. I mean, you shared some great points, and honestly, before we sign out, can you please tell our listeners, how to reach out to you if they're interested in Archy? And then again, it's Archy, Archy.
Correct.
That would be great.
Yeah. So it's archy.com is our website that you can go and check us out and learn about us. Or you can feel free to give me a call at my direct line. It's 669-259-6442. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. You can also shoot me an email. It's megan.sack@archy.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today. Be sure to subscribe to Beyond Bitewings on your favorite podcast platform. For more information, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, or reach out to us on our website. You can also shoot us an email at info@eandassociates.com.